Welcome to Sounds From Lothal, where the Loth cats eat well and the Loth wolves run free. I'm Julian.
And I'm Giraffe.
This week, we are starting individual episode reviews of The Acolyte. And the reviews, as you can hear in my voice, are coming during a dark time in the Republic. Unfortunately, Giraffe, why are we sad on this day?
Oh, well, it's we're recording a few days
Few
after
days.
the announcement of the cancellation of the Acolyte, which came out of the left field, let's be honest. Very surprising news. I have to say that I know some people didn't like it, but everybody's surprised by this cancellation. Everybody I know loved this show. And well, you know what we say. There's no worse fans than
Yep.
than Star Wars fans.
That's why we started a Star Wars podcast, for
No,
better
I
or
mean,
worse.
nobody hates Star Wars as much as Star Wars fan. I'm
It's
very
true.
surprised by the way people have been reacting to this news. A lot of people are very surprised. I think that's the word, especially for a show that brought new people to Star Wars. And I don't really understand the well, the tangent that they're taking is like, you don't want new fans, you just want your old fans. That is interesting that you don't want more merchandising and more people to come. I guess it has to do with the kind of people that came into Star Wars with that show.
Yeah.
Hot
Yeah.
take in the first 5 minutes. I'm
No,
already pissed because of work, so like I'm ready to like take down people.
it's a good take. We are going to be talking about that news some more in a few minutes. But would you like to introduce our guest?
Oh, I already talked too much. That's it. I was just like,
No,
went off.
I like that you went off because
I was surprised that we didn't introduce Josh. So
I know
I was like, I don't know what we're doing.
you took it and ran with it, and I like it.
Like a
So,
Loth wolf.
like a Loth wolf. Boom, love it. Let's go.
So we're joined today by my dear friends, Josh Gilliland from the Legal Geeks. Josh, how are you doing?
Rising moons, my friends. So it's so good to see both of you to talk about the other star property that I love and to comment on the non-renewal, because it wasn't canceled. They just didn't greenlight a season 2.
That's a good point.
And to quote Luke Skywalker, no one's ever really gone. So don't lose faith. And we had a Kenobi series. No one thought that was going to happen. So, and to cross the streams, there are always possibilities. So don't give up hope. Have faith. Yeah, there are critical Star Wars fans, and there are some people who really need a hug. And since today is National Dog Day, they really should go hug a puppy. But
I hugged my puppy a lot. I was away from my puppy for 10 days. I've been giving him lots of hugs.
Yeah, as you should. It's
yeah.
I am great. Any Star Wars is better than no Star Wars. Like when these first 2 episodes dropped, Christine Peak and Stephen Tolafield, other Legal Geeks, came over to my condo. We had pizza and chicken wings and all kinds of snacks, and we enjoyed Star Wars together. And it was fun.
Nice.
And yes, we did. I did have a bottle. I opened a bottle of wine, and granted, my idea of drinking is a glass, but still, like that, I was very happy. And we got to see lightsaber action and Jedi. I was ecstatic.
Naked guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have my critique, but this is the beginning, and I thought the first 2 episodes were a good start.
So we had you on Strange New Pod a few times. So would you say that you're a bigger Trekkie or a bigger Star Wars fan? What's your allegiance? You need to choose.
No, I don't. I don't believe in or. It's like, do I like eating or breathing? The answer is both. Like,
Ooh,
which thumb is more
that's
important?
much.
And then it might boil down to which is the right one. But both are radically important to me. Star Wars came out when I was almost 3. A week and a half after the movie came out, my brother was born, and I have fond memories of seeing Empire with my mother. Uh, Star Trek has also always been there. I saw the motion picture with my dad at a drive-in. It's like like when my father died, like I put on Star Trek for 5 hours and just let it play. And ironically, I tend to associate Star Wars more with my mother and Star Trek more with my dad. And there are reasons for both of those things.
That's really funny
Oh,
because yeah, I associate Star Trek completely with my mother. Like she, I was in diapers when TNG started, and I remember it because she popped me in front of the TV and made sure that I watched it whenever it was on. So, and then Star Wars with my dad because when they did the special editions, he bought it on Laserdisc and made my stepmom think that the house was burning down because of how loud his sound system was. So yeah, I love that. I love that you have that association.
Oh, I'm about to turn 50, and I am saying that out loud so I can get used to saying it out loud, because it's still a little weird for me. But Empire Strikes Back came out in May of 1980. A couple months before, nearly died of meningitis. My parents got divorced. So again, it was very much a country western song. And my mom was about to go off to paramedic school. And she took me to see Empire opening weekend at the Century Theaters in San Jose, which were the big dome theaters. And I remember sitting on a blanket in the parking lot with traffic going around us. And as she told the story, we get in hours later. My little legs go to the end of the seat, and I have my licorice and I have my soda. And as soon as the opening crawl starts, I didn't move or blink. Hearing the audience reaction to "I Am Your Father," there were screams, pure terror, shock. It's very rare to pull that off, and Star Wars has pulled it off on the TV shows now twice, with Baby Yoda and then Luke at the end of Mandalorian season 2. The fact that they've been able to do that and have pure audience reaction and absolute joy is a testament to great security, awesome NDAs. But for me,
good
the only
lawyers.
thing, yeah, it's like lawyers to the rescue. But the other thing that rivals that in recent years is the penultimate episode of Picard season 3 with the return of the Enterprise D. Like, I was teary.
Oh yeah, there's
And
there's video of me crying during that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so again, love both. Both were there for me in critical times in my life. To say one's more important than the other, it's like, well, it depends on the timing. Like in the 90s when I'm in college and law school, it's Voyager and Deep Space Nine because that's what's on. Recent years, Star Wars TV has been exceptional.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie? Your favorite Star Wars? It's a loaded question. A lot of opinions.
I'm going to go with Empire just because of the memory of seeing it with my mother. That's something that's just very sweet and pure. I saw Rogue One with my cousin Garrett, who's a year younger than me. He's an ER doctor, and that was a lot of fun because there was high nostalgia seeing something new. So, I'd put those two at the top.
Good answer. Good answer.
We also
Nice.
love Rogue One.
We love Rogue One. It's my favorite
This is,
Star Wars film.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Andor series was just so damn incredible. Can't wait for season 2.
Can't wait for
And
season 2.
oh, just the fact that a TV show gets people thinking about prisoner rights, from One Way Out to going, so what's happening in our private prisons? getting people to actually think and care, to go like, wait, we wouldn't want to live in that world. What's actually happening? Which is a testament to art.
It is. I think it was. I think it was maybe after Andor season 1, or maybe just a little bit before. But John Oliver did a great piece on private prisons. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, check it out. Yeah, yeah.
Have you answered these questions?
We did them in our trailer for the pod. This is
Okay.
only what, Giraffe, our 3rd episode?
Yeah, I have no idea. It feels
It's our
like
3rd
we're
episode,
doing
so
like one episode every
couple of
every
weeks.
time the planets are aligned or something like this.
Yeah, yeah. But
I
Rogue
mean,
One for me.
I'm a bigger Trekkie than Star Wars fan. Like, let's be honest, I'm more knowledgeable about Star Trek than I am from Star Wars. I enjoy both, but definitely bigger Trekkie here.
This is gonna be a lot of like Jedi Temple for Giraffe.
Yeah.
We're gonna have like a learning with Giraffe section about Star Wars.
I usually I get quizzed, so
Yeah. I've spent a lot of money on both. I can talk about
Same.
both for hours on end.
I can't afford to be a fan of like 2 franchises the way I'm a Trekkie. Like, it's not
Yet she has the
possible.
Obi-Wan droid in the background.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I have a baby Yoda in my office that everybody pets because then it coos. And yeah.
oh,
Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
Julian, your art's amazing. And
Thank you.
I'm in my kitchen area where you have my tiki displays, but the office has the display cases with action figures and lightsabers that have been used in different blog posts, because my view on fair use is kind of strict. So I'd rather use action figures and take pictures for a blog post, screenshots, but that's me.
Speaking of lightsaber, I have 2 lightsabers, and one I made with Julian at Disneyland, because that was the first time I was going to Disneyland, and I went with Julian. And he went again without me. How was that?
I did. I just got back. It was a amazing, joyous, nightmarish, all of the above time, because I went
with children.
I went with my kids this time. But listen, if we want to keep it just to Star Wars, I told the story to Josh off mic while we were waiting for you to get here, and I'll tell it again because it was
under the bus in a recorded podcast for being late. Thank you.
I didn't say late. I just said waiting for you to get here. But she was late, everyone.
Early.
She was late.
I was early.
The hyperspace lane was down, folks. So Giraffe, remember when we waited like forever and ever in the line for Rise because it had broken down? Well, we had those trials and tribulations again this time. It said 55 minutes, so we got a really good time. And it must have only been half an hour. Lies. But honestly, by the time we got to where it starts, I think it was only half an hour. That line moved so fast. And we got all the way to where you're about to go into the pods. Like the Empire, like the First Order is already like, get to your blue spots or we'll put you in the torture chamber. And then they go, oh, the ride just broke down. So the kids are taking it well. They like the whole cinematic of everything, but then they give us lightning lane passes to come back later, but it doesn't restart forever. Like something had went, I think, catastrophically wrong. So we had tried once. My oldest had a meltdown, and then we had done Millennium Falcon, which they loved in the meantime. And then I was telling Josh, we stayed for the fireworks at Galaxy's Edge. And did you saw them at Star Wars Day when you went, right? No? So they did
I don't know what I saw. I'm never really totally sober when I'm in Disneyland, so
fair.
I don't know.
So they kept the Star Wars Day celebration fireworks show, and we had magic bands. So like our magic bands were going off during the fireworks and John Williams music. And my wife was brilliant. She's like, okay, let's run from here and see if Rise is back. And we get there, it still says stand by. I'm like, let me just ask. And they're like, it just opened up, go through. And we did it. And the kids just blew their minds. They loved it.
The best ride.
It's
It
the
is
best ride ever created. I will not say a single thing about it because it should never be spoiled for anyone.
It's insane. And I feel like the disturbing thing is that you get to experience it for the first time only once, or you don't
Exactly.
know what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um
absolutely.
it was great. The rest of the time at Galaxy's Edge was great. I learned how to play sabacc. I fell in love with it. I bought a set. I'm gonna have a sabacc
I
night with
have
my
a bunch
friends.
of friends that keep playing Sabah here.
Yeah,
So
next time I come, I'll get in on a game if you can invite me into one because I'd play in a minute.
I like
Um
enough. I lack focus. I cannot play games.
but my son got to meet Kylo Ren. I yelled at some stormtroopers. Got to meet R2D2, and the kids did the droid building, which was
Oh,
really fun and really cool. And they built some really cool droids, and you could see them, I think, on our Instagram and Twitter. I posted the pictures of the droids there if you want to take a look at them. But it was a great time. If you've never been to Galaxy's Edge, go. I also got this awesome shirt, which is the script of Rebels 222 when Ahsoka and Vader are about to have their epic lightsaber duel. Karen found this and I had to get it. So, yeah. Anyway, it was fun. So thank you for asking. We had an absolute blast.
So I'm going for my birthday in a couple of weeks. I won't say the date, but Giraffe, it's an opportunity for you to nerd out with other geeks
oh,
who are Star Wars
1000%.
fans.
I'm going
So
there
yeah,
for Dapper Day in November also. So I should get one of those keys because I end up
You
going
should.
every month.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous that you guys get to go a lot because I just want to spend all my time at Galaxy's Edge.
yeah, I have a magic key. I've already done a lightsaber build, but if one of my friends goes who hasn't done one, I would make sure that she gets that opportunity. And I look
Nice.
forward to the day when I could take any of my 8 nephews and nieces to have them go through that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be in the corner saying, good,
Good.
good.
Oh, speaking of good, one of the things that was cool about having a magic band is you could scan it at the bounty station and it would blink and like buzz your arm green if you were getting closer to your bounty. And then like you scan it against doors around Galaxy's Edge and you pick the phone, you scan the door. And if you got the bounty, you go back and you put the magic band under like a cool thing and it does a whole light show and you get credits. It was really cool.
Credits
I
to
could
do
talk
what?
about it all day. Absolutely nothing. They're fake credits, they're not real money. Imagine if Disneyland gave you
Super
real
cool.
money.
I
Oh.
got the Outbox.
I would buy all the food because the food in Galaxy's Edge is also.
Yeah, the
Mwah.
food is good. Yeah, that's true.
I could talk about this forever. So, do you have one more thing? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I admit that, at the food service area where they have the fake rotisserie spinning.
Oh yeah.
I've always wanted to point and yell at one and yell, it's Ewok, but I've refrained. But
I would have.
The
I like it.
other red meat.
I mean, they make excellent slippers, let's be honest.
They do.
So,
They do make excellent slippers. Yeah, I could spend my life in that place. But I will refrain. Listen, we talked about it at the top of the show. Let's just give a little bit more quick thoughts from everyone. We're recording this mere days after the Acolyte's been canceled. I'll just say it, like, I'm genuinely pissed off. Or like you said, not picked up for a second season. Where are we? Because I'm still sad, but I'm seeing all the hope online too. So it's, yeah.
The fact that they didn't renew a show that created such a buzz, brought so many people to go watch that show, even when they're not Star Wars fan, for me is a sign that Star Wars doesn't want other fans to come to the franchise. And as a Trekkie, I will say Star Trek has done a good job at actually multiplying the different kind of shows that are presenting. Shows for kids, shows for non-Trekkies, shows for like teenager that's coming up with the Academy, shows for hardcore nostalgia Trekkies who are here for like 30 years. There's a little bit of everything, and I'm kind of sad that for once there's a show where you don't need spark notes for every single episode, because I need spark notes for every single episode. I'm like on Wikipedia, like, who's that guy? What is he doing? Like every other show, like Obi-Wan, I was like doing homework. Same for the Mandalorian. I'm always asking them, like, who's that guy? Who's that guy? And I was enjoying Star Wars as like something that came new and unattached, and I could just follow the same than everybody. Nobody had more knowledge than me watching that show. I mean, a little bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it just shows that I don't, for me, and I know that for a lot of also like, blurs and like the black fans are very, taken aback by the fact that first of all, Amanda got like so much shit
It's so ridiculous too.
as usual,
Yeah.
but also then they don't renew the show, and they announced that on Manny's birthday, which you're like, you really don't give a shit. Like it's so it felt like a slap in the face that like really Disney doesn't have the money to give us a season 2 for that when everybody was raving about it. And it for me it tells that Star Wars is listening only to a certain part of the fandom, and that I'm not part of that part that is
Yeah.
being listened to. And Trek has a lot of like negative stuff. Like I will complain about Paramount and CBS and Trek any day, but they do try to get out there different kind of shows with different kind of people, and they try to get their show to 3 seasons, or like, we did never had like 1 season. I mean, even Prodigy got 2,
Yeah.
and it's 40 episode. So anyway, I feel pissed. I feel like I was pointed out, and they were like, Star Wars is not for you. No, you get out. We don't want you people here. I
Yeah.
feel that's a lot of fans who were feeling finally seen in Star Wars. Asian fans and black fans like really felt like, oh, sorry, we forgot. This is not for us.
Yeah.
Noted. On the other side, as a TV person, like somebody who loves TV, it was a good show. It was a good damn show. So yeah, whatever.
I feel you, girl. I feel you. What about you, Josh?
I'm complicated, so I'm disappointed that it didn't get a second season. I thought it started strong, but some of the storytelling got sloppy and fell apart towards the end. I'm trying to be optimistic and balanced in my description here. Star Wars is about hope, and in the later episodes, I felt it was devoid of hope, and that was something I had problem with connecting to the story. Interviews with the cast, I want to hang out with all of them. They seem super fun and super into it, and all of them just seem to so love Star Wars and being part of it. There's a video clip with them getting their action figures in boxes, and it was just like, these people are adorable. It's an adorable cast. It's the type of individuals you want to spend time with, because I mean, just like watching Carrie Ann Moss's reaction to getting her action figure, and she's like, this will never be touched by human hands. I am not opening it. And one of the other castmates made the comment, spoken like someone who's been in a multi-million-dollar series before. So it was like, that stuff was a lot of fun. Something that, again, as a straight white guy, like I didn't appreciate until a queer friend raised the issue with me, was it echoed the journey that some queer people have experienced with their religion turning their back on them when they came out. And I found his discussion of that very profound. And I spent a lot of time listening to understand that that's what he saw in this series. So the fact that this series spoke to him that way, I thought was very important. So my criticisms about it got sloppy with the storytelling, and I felt it had the ultimate message of, no, I don't want to do spoilers. I didn't like the ultimate message.
You could do spoilers. We're
Or
a
you can do
spoiler.
it. We already
We
reviewed
are
everything.
always
Don't
a
worry about it.
spoiler show.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end, it's about somebody's journey to be evil, and going, hey, I have feelings, and therefore I am pro revenge and committing murder. And that was I didn't like ending like that. Like, that really offended me. Not offended. upset me. Uh, the Jedi doing a cover up, it's like, okay, thanks. Like, bummer. Like, I didn't like that.
It's so funny
I
because it's
wanted
absolutely like what I loved so much about the series.
Same.
Yeah.
and that's it can speak to people in different ways. Like that's fine. I just I wanted to see how it ended. I don't like the cliffhanger ending with like, hey, we're done. Like it's like that bums me out because I wanted to give them the chance to right the ship. Like, because if you just watch any show that ends with the cliffhanger and that's it, and you don't find out how the story concludes, that's a bummer. And they put the set design, the fight choreography, all of that
Costumes.
might yeah might be the best ever in Star Wars live action. It's like wire fu. Like the last fight was incredible.
The last
and
fight might be my favorite lightsaber fight of all time. Like
ever. Yeah,
ever.
it just yeah.
Also,
So
Jackie versus Chimere was amazing as well.
one of the judges at our panel wore a T-shirt that said "Justice for Jackie." So
I told him so. I know he wants that shirt.
I want it because I'm part of the Jackie jam. I need my Jackie.
yeah, I will ask the judge where she got that.
Thank you.
And we'll pass it on.
Nice.
So again, I have mixed feelings from a critical storytelling aspect, but I'm also very cognitive that representation matters. One of my friends after the first episode posted something about like that was just an attack on wokeness, and like it so broke my heart.
There's
To
so much
hear
of that.
Yeah, it was just like that's not the thing that bothered me. I thought the story got sloppy. Like that's a valid criticism.
And that's a valid and fair criticism, but
Yeah.
it's not where the majority of the criticism is, and that's the sad and kind of pathetic part of all of it, unfortunately.
And those who take that view don't understand the story, don't understand the purpose of any pop culture. Or going back to the Twilight Zone, Rod Serling couldn't do a story about discrimination in the South, but if you make it about green robots, you can put that on TV.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty devastated out of all of this, out of all of the Star Wars that's been on TV, even Ahsoka, who is my favorite Star Wars character of all time. This show just did something for me that none of the others did, and I was really hoping for a season 2, and I'm really upset that we're not getting one. I fell in love with each of these characters. I love the study of the fall of the Jedi, which Lucas did tell in his films, and it was subtle, but it wasn't fully explored. And the fact that this series was exploring where the cracks started to show, I think, was a really unique story and tale to tell, and I think that they nailed it on the head.
What else spoke to you?
That, I mean, so when we did our full season review, I that's how we started this show, with a full season review of the Acolyte, and that was the biggest thing. Was I love the idea of the fall of the Jedi. I love the fact that the Jedi aren't pure, and they aren't like the knights in shining armor that everybody thinks they are. And even though, like I said, like Lucas didn't fully explore that, he definitely did try to tell that story. So I love that with this series, they were like, okay, we're going to show you exactly where those cracks start to form. And I thought that the casting was great. It also really, I tried to get into the High Republic. I've had the first High Republic book in my ownership for years, and I never finished it. But this made me go, okay, I really want to get lost in that universe now. So that's what really spoke to me. And then the ending, again, from a certain point of view, like Obi-Wan says, I don't think what Osha does at the end is evil. You know, I think it's a really just complex, you know, take on dark side versus the light side. Is there a dark side? Is there a light side? I loved that. So I'm
I think for me, yeah. Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
go please.
I think it's for me, it's like the story of abuse and how
Yeah.
it breaks people. For me, was interesting because there's always, and I complain about this in every show all the time, that people just forgive and forget all the freaking time, and that's not true. When you're abused by your parents, when you're mistreated by society, when you're, I don't know, discriminated upon all your life, you just don't go one day and be like, no, I'm bigger than this. No, it breaks you, it hurts you. And I understand Osha deeply. Like, having somebody that does that to you and realize that you've been lied to by the person who murdered your own mother. I was like, yeah, I would stab him. Yeah, 1000%. I would be wrong by society standard because, you know, he's a representative of justice and in somebody who's powerful, and I am not. But you know what? Yeah, good. Be angry. And I think that this constant, also for me as a foreigner, is always impressive for me, like how American refuse to be angry. Like, you should not be angry. Anger is not a good thing. And I was like, no, anger is good. Like, you should be angry at discrimination. You should be angry at things that are not fair. You should be angry at injustice. You should not be like thinking that you're a higher person because you're unable to be angry when you see things that are unfair. No, be angry. Anger is good. And I think that it's good that Star Wars come to that question and conversation, that it's not because you're angry at something that's bad that it makes you evil, because you're angry at a society that is displaying fairness when it's not. What the Jedi do to the Witchers is wrong. And you should be angry about this. You should not let it go. And you know, I don't know. I felt like, yeah, you know, it's a French in me. Burn it down.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
So
Revolt.
it's one thing to be angry, it's another thing to commit murder. And the witches are the ones
The
that draw
lawyer
first
talking
blood.
now.
Witches are the ones who decide, hey, let's start entering people's minds and messing with them when the Jedi show up.
There was no
And
that was, in my opinion, and we could have you on again to talk about that episode.
You
Yeah.
come for my kid.
That, in my opinion,
I'm
that's
gonna go for your head,
self-defense.
my man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not legally self-defense. It highlights distrust on both sides. It highlights all kinds of problems because the witches have the right to practice their religion. They have the right to raise their kid. Society has the right to go, if your kids are force sensitive and they can inadvertently turn into children of the corn type situation, like you would understand why, like you would have laws in place for training. But on the flip side, if a kid is good at algebra, they don't get taken by the state and they never
Right.
see their family again.
Not to mention the planet that the witch is on were not part of the Republic.
Yeah. Agree. There's blame to go all the way around. Like, no one's free
Soul
from
trespassed.
Yeah, like there's a lot. But on the flip side, when he sees Osha and May, when he sees Osha and May's torturing a bug. Like, so like there's some that could be concerned with, like, what's going on with this animal abuse?
What kid hasn't tortured a bug?
Oh, no, that was May.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it right.
No, but I think we've all like fucked around with an ant before, you know.
Sorry.
That's an admission that
I've never fucked around with an ant.
Okay, not like, come on, guys.
I don't torture animals.
I've never,
and so it's just
even bugs. Yeah.
Oh, when I was a kid, I made not like a lot,
Julian.
but like, you know, cut an ant into some pieces. I don't know. And I love animals, so.
Again, it's National Dog Day, so we got to keep the puppies in mind. But
puppies.
There was a lot of errors on both sides with this, where things escalated, and like the Jedi should have kept their nose out of their business. Like, I fully on board with that of, you don't need to be here, time to go. On the flip side, the witches, let's go to war as well. So like there was a it's problematic, which is,
Gosh,
I guess,
I'm
good storytelling because we're debating it and we're all upset
exactly.
about it.
And I'm
Anyway,
here
this
for
was
women's rights
yeah.
and women's wrong.
Yeah. This was supposed to be about episodes 1 and 2. We're now talking about 3 and 7. That's always fun. Listen, we are already way over time, so I'd like short answers for these questions so we can move on to talking about the episodes. There is a change.org petition going. Giraffe, I know, is going to talk for 90 minutes. Can this petition change the minds of those at Disney, right? Because it's already closing in on 50,000 signatures. It's been trending on Twitter since it got Renew the Acolyte's been trending and hasn't stopped trending on Twitter. And the voices on that platform are very loud right now. I think, not to bring it back to Trek, but I think they're even louder than when Prodigy was canceled. Quick thoughts.
Save the Clone
Yes.
Wars.
Yeah.
It's worked before. And I would say raise voices in a positive manner, highlight the cast. Again, Manny seems really cool. I would love to hang out with that dude.
So would
I would,
Giraffe.
yeah. The Clone Wars were saved. It took years. It ended great. You know, Victory and Death is one of the best episodes of Star Wars ever made.
Ever.
So
Agreed.
I would say we lean in a positive, constructive way. And you know, just as you know, people want Solo 2 to happen. I haven't given up on that one yet either.
Yeah, I haven't either.
So
Yeah.
I would say maintain optimism because I think this story can be finished.
Nice. Giraffe?
I think yes, but I I don't know. I think even if they renew it, everybody still will feel the burn of not getting a second season right away.
Immediately,
But that's
right?
fine. Yes.
Yeah, I think the petition will work. I really do. Just because of how loud it is. I'm always the hopeful, optimistic about these things as well. So I'm gonna put all that energy into hoping it happens. Reaching, as we're recording this, almost 50,000 signatures. So knock on some wood.
Yeah, I that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. It's such an original show that doesn't follow the is not taking place in the original chronology with all the original legacy characters. Does that hurt the possibility for Star Wars to get other original shows? And when I say original, like that are not taking place in these main events of the original trilogy.
I'll go as Josh thinks. I think if it doesn't get renewed, I don't think we'll have it for years to come. I think they'll keep going to the well with characters that we know and are familiar with. This was a great example of introducing new characters, and they're now, for the meantime, not coming back. The one thing I forgot to say, the only other thing that keeps me hopeful is that Disney and Lucasfilm actually haven't made an official announcement yet. Either way. So, but yeah, I think it hurts.
It hurts, but it's not on StarWars.com. And, you know, you have the legal loophole of they didn't say it was canceled. They haven't announced a season 2. So like that's their graceful way out of this. We have Skeleton Crew coming out December 3rd. So there's new Star Wars that again looks like Goonies and Explorers and other things that Gen Xers are going to go to in droves. But I have faith. You know, there's like Mandalorian was original, but hit the keynotes that people like about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Last Jedi tried something bold and different. And the negative reaction to that showed that Rise of Skywalker was written for trolls. So
Sure
like, no,
was.
it was, I mean, my brother has a great analysis that the prequels were a bold story told poorly, and the sequels are a poor story told well. And I agree with that.
I would agree with that as well.
I believe we will get new content because stuff is on, the scoreboard. We're getting another season of Andor. Talk about a departure from the norm of Star Wars being a family show with, aimed at a 5-year-old. That opens with a visit to a brothel.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, so and him killing 2 dudes. So we will see more. Andor's Exhibit A to that, and we'll see how Skeleton Crew goes. And they've experimented with visions of showing different anime done by different production studios that were brilliant. So again, I have faith that there's a positive future ahead of us that will be unique and have good stories from a different point of view.
Yeah. Yep. Should we get to the episode? Draft, do you have anything else on that? You good?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
No, let's
No?
go.
Let's go.
I want to talk about the Acolyte in a good way.
the one thing before we go is that we did get a message over the Holonet. So thank you to whoever texted us from Atlanta, who wrote on the cancellation. It was a terrible move on Disney's part, horribly short-sighted, and catering to a group of fans who aren't satisfied ever anyways. The fact that even Forbes is saying it is very telling, hoping they bring it back. As do we all. So let's talk about this show. We are talking about episode 1, Lost and Found, and we're going to go right into the opening. Josh, we premiered Sounds of Lothal with a full season review and talked about the opening fight in some great depth because I think we all really enjoyed it. But wanted to get your take on the opening of the series, this fight between May and Master Andara, the shock to you, if there was any, of killing a character played by Carrie-Anne Moss in the very first episode.
So it was shocking, but I wasn't surprised just because of the poster was her lightsaber, that we know it's a murder. I was really hoping it wasn't her, but we're going to see her in flashbacks throughout the series. So it wasn't like, Miss Moss showed up for 20 minutes of work and then went home with a sack full of money. Also her Instagram showing her like doing the practicing with the lightsaber. God bless her. That was so awesome. Like, there's someone who takes her craft very seriously. Now, from the legal analysis that I'll just add it's mutual combat, but May murdered her. Like it was while May takes the position of getting into a stance of like, attack me. So she's inviting an attack. Self-defense is not an option. You can't say, I challenge someone to a duel, and then when they responded, that makes it self-defense. Like, that's not how self-defense works. So she's the instigator, and Andara doesn't, ignite her lightsaber well into the fight. And so again, it's murder.
I think sometimes if you have come over from Strange New Pod and listened to Josh before, I think we've had a fair share of disagreements in the best possible way. But this one I will agree with you on. The only
Wait. We didn't have disagreement. Like, he's a professional of the law. Like, I'm not like, you're wrong.
Oh no, not wrong. Just arguments, not disagreements. Like he knows the law.
Yes,
I still like to I still like to arguing it. But I will say, like, absolutely right though. Like, the only reason that Andara does start fighting is because she starts like harming innocent people, right? So yeah, no.
I have to say that I was at the panel that you did at Comic-Con on the Acolyte, and it was so good because I feel it added a layer of, I don't know how, validation to what I felt in that first episode of like things being like slightly tense and weird and not how they're supposed to be, and like kind of like this taste of abuse of power, but I could not really like put my hand on like my finger on like why I was feeling that. And you did a great job like explaining like, all these first 2 episodes, all the things that go against the law. I mean, our law. I don't know the law of a galaxy far, far away, but I think it gave like such a great addition And I want to ask, do you think it was done on purpose, or it was done by people who didn't know the law and just went with it, like we see in Star Trek sometime, and they just have like this idea of the law and they invent things, or it was done in purpose that to create that feeling of like
I think it was
realness?
done. I think it was done intentionally for a storytelling purpose, to get people to feel a reaction, to go like, hey, that's not right. And we're about to break it down, but one of my TikToks, I described this as criminal procedure in 2024 versus criminal procedure in 1924. Watching law enforcement work 100 years ago, we could get uncomfortable with a few things, going like, that's not how we do this anymore. That we've evolved, that there's been a ton of Supreme Court precedent and statutes put in place to avoid police abuse. And when we get to the interrogation and arrest, we can talk more about that. But it was so nice that you were at the panel. It was nice getting a hug afterwards. It's always nice to see you, and it was nice to be able to visit. That's why I love Comic-Con, because you get to see good people who love the same things that you do. And I'll highlight, the judges were Circuit Judge John Owens from the Ninth Circuit, U.S. Magistrate Judge Stacey Beckerman from Portland, and U.S. Magistrate Judge Stan Boone from the Eastern District of California, and he's based in Fresno. And the other lawyers were Christine Peak and Stephen Tolofield, and they're all brilliant. Their hard work showed. I was in trial before Comic-Con, and Stephen led the charge in getting all that material together.
Yeah, it was. I went to a few of your. I mean, the other one I went was on the ISB and torture and all this. It was last year, right? Yeah, that was also very good. I'm not a law person, and especially not the American law, so I always learn things. But let's go deeper into episode 1. So we talked a lot about Yord and abuse of authority and the Jedi and so on. And so in that episode, when Yord arrives on the Trade Federation ship, and the fact that it seems that there are rules, but also that everybody's kind of I would say, in our understanding, playing loose with it, with you're just threatening the Trade Federation with like mind melding with them. I don't know, like
it's like, oh, it's that story. So they board the ship and they threaten people on the bridge with Jedi mind tricks, mind reading out of the gate. Like that is abuse. Like that is abuse of power. It was intimidation. And like, that's like, whoa, it's one thing for people to feel uncomfortable when law enforcement shows up. Like that's a natural reaction. But like, this is the quintessential police officer pulling somebody over without estate plates and like breaking the tail light with a bully club type nightmare scenario, except no blinkers are knocked out and on the starship. But again, it's that uncomfortable feeling because, well, let's just break this down, that the Fourth Amendment prevents unreasonable searches and seizures, and they go onto a ship. There's no warrant, but I do think there would be probable cause for a warrant. And they do a little threatening. They threaten to do some mind reading. The Fifth Amendment, the Constitution guarantees people will not be compelled to testify against themselves. That's why people are familiar with TV shows with like, I plead the Fifth. And we don't allow forced confessions. Like, it's like you fell down the stairs and then fell up them. Like, we don't do that. That's torture. That's bad. And we have Supreme Court case law saying like, you can't do forced confessions, just as there is case law prohibiting truth serum, that you don't do that. And doing the Jedi mind trick to get someone to tell the truth is really pushing that in an unhealthy way that is offensive to our idea of civil rights. So yeah, like, and that's after the fight scene.
Yeah, but I have to say that it is something that for me made that show very interesting because, when you start a Star Wars show, I mean, the Jedi are the good guys. Like, I trust them. I believe that they're doing the right thing. And when Yord arrives, he's also very cute. And he's also very like, what? He is cute. Stop. He is, well. And
We got to see him without a shirt. And, at the end of the day, that might be the most important part of
I
this.
have
So
I have to tell you another story after the podcast.
Oh, I know that story.
That's it's a funny
Yeah,
story.
it is a good story.
So you're compelled to believe these guys who are so well dressed, and I always saw the Jedi has like more of a religion of than like a religious order than more like cops, which this show has made me like kind of balance through it. And I know a lot of people see them like cops or like after especially the Clone Wars, but I have a tendency to be like, well, they're doing the good thing because the Jedi got murdered and they're here, they're not wasting time, they need to find the person, they need to find the murderer before somebody else like dies. And it's interesting that when you unpack all this, especially after your panel, I was like, oh yeah. But we're easily convinced to follow them because we've seen so much Star Wars that we trust them inherently.
and that's again part of the brilliance of the show and getting us to reevaluate what's happening. But on the flip side, it's supposed to make us uncomfortable. There are stories of law enforcement getting wound up after a police officer's killed. So like that's a real thing. My mother
I didn't
as a
even think
paramedic,
about that. Wow.
yeah, it's my mother as a paramedic, had, described in the 80s, like this, like an adrenaline fueled, anger. And after, like, she described an incident where she was treating someone who was a suspect accused of a crime. And the individual said something very offensive to my mother. And the police officer that was there did not respond well to the highly offensive thing that was said to my mother. And I think the show's leaning into that. Doesn't make it right, but it makes the Jedi human.
But they're
And
also supposed to have no anger,
yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of emotion here with
Yeah.
with these Jedi.
And
A lot of them are very upset.
and that's what I really liked right from the get-go about this. Again, it's, this is a time where the Jedi basically don't have any credible threat against them besides them really being the police and dealing with squabbles on planets and stuff. And I love that it's just immediately, I am a Jedi, you're going to listen to me and I can throw my weight around, because it immediately like untrains your brain to be like, oh yeah, you got to remember, by the time the Clone Wars end, the Jedi were very corrupt and just not the guardians of peace and justice.
I don't know, I would
Obi-Wan
say
says.
corrupt, but when you feel
Well,
you're
not yet,
right,
not
and when you
yet.
feel you're righteous, and when you've been imbued by your whole society as the most righteous people, the people that know the most, and you're also a guardian of knowledge and a guardian of
Yeah,
balance, and it's just, I feel that it gives you a weight that makes you the one that is right. I mean, I teach, and like when you're the only teacher in the room, you're the repository of
yeah,
knowledge. You're the one holding the law. You're the good guy here, like,
yeah.
and it with great power
Comes
comes
great. I
great
just
responsibility.
watched No Way Home today.
But I've never seen like the Jedi as like corrupt. I've just seen as them like being blinded by everybody telling them they're right all the time. And so just going with that all the freaking time and not reevaluating themselves in a society that's changing around them also. And their inability to change and adapt makes them breakable.
Yeah.
Because you need to be flexible, and they're not by
Yeah.
definition. We're going way away from what we're
Yeah,
talking
let's
about, but I really like this conversation.
I love it too. Let's keep going because we still have a ton to talk about.
Josh wanted to answer.
I know
but
Josh
we'll talk
wanted to
after,
answer so
Josh.
bad. No, he's like, nope, let's go. It wouldn't be Star Wars without some form of a prison break scene. You gotta have one, right? What did we think? I thought this was actually really cool. Like, this is a time where droids were kind of just doing everything. They were like slaves, basically, which is unfortunate, but just the truth of where we were in the Star Wars universe.
Isn't it weird that they just like put people that are like supposed to be in their care because they're prisoners in like an uninhabited
uninhabited
ship, and
yeah,
like,
literally droids were flying it, droids were guarding it, and not even one Jedi aboard that thing. What do we think about this all droid run vessel and the whole prison break scene? Josh, you're our guest, please.
So this was one of our Comic-Con topics, and it was Judge Beckerman who got into the could the Jedi legally delegate their prisoner transport responsibility to droids? And she actually got into Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. And it's like, because again, Judge Beckerman is a rock star and hardcore nerd and so smart. But it's problematic, but I don't necessarily, because it turns into self-driving car type issues, but probably having a living being on board, not necessarily as the pilot, would have been a good idea. I'm more concerned about the use of the Daibok, the starfish creature, to sedate the violent prisoner as a talking point, because we do have laws in place if someone is violent, that they could be bound. And that takes a variety of forms. Like if somebody's in court spitting, like they can get muzzled for that to make sure that they don't spit on other people. There are also laws in place for people in prison that if they're violent and fighting, that, you know, there are situations where you can medicate them so that they will not be harmful to others or themselves. It's almost like a 51-50 hold type situation where that comes into play. But you also get into, is this torture, or are they all just like really high? It's like recreational.
Yeah.
It's like
no. The thing on his mouth, this is not right. This is not okay. Come on, Josh.
But I'm
And
again
it's a
just going
living
through
thing also. Like,
Yeah, like,
even
are both
thinking,
things being tortured, right? Like,
and that we don't know. This would be a nice time for an evidentiary hearing, because if the violent prisoner is just like thinking of snuggling with golden retrievers and having the time of his life, cool, okay, so that doesn't sound like torture. And if the starfish is like getting nutrients and just like living its best life, that's how it survives, like a parasitical relationship, that could be okay. On the flip side, if it's tripping as well in a negative way, that starts sounding like torture and animal abuse going the other direction. So I think more facts are needed, but on its face, literally and figuratively, that I don't think this would be unconstitutional, because there you can medicate people under certain circumstances, and this could be a sustainable way to do so.
Josh,
I
going
want to
back
put
to
out there that I
go
don't
ahead.
want to be medicated ever, even if like it's about golden retriever. If I'm not okay with it, if I don't say yes, do not medicate me.
Yeah,
No.
but again, well, you're passionate in debate. You're not like hitting people. Like you're
You don't know
not.
that, Josh.
Again, I've seen the knuckles. There aren't bruises. Like I don't think you're a violent person. I don't want you mad at me, but I don't see that as the threat here. So I
No,
think
I
I
know.
think it could
Yes.
work, but I wouldn't want anything on my mouth. Like let's.
The only thing I
Very
want on my mouth,
alien.
the only thing I want on my mouth is my wife, and that's about it.
What?
And some food. Food entering my belly. Yeah.
TMI.
Baby. Josh, I want to quickly go back to the transport and the fact that there's no humans on board, that there's, it just, is this a situation of them, we're talking about, privatizing prison. Is this them privatizing prison transport?
Maybe, but who's profiting from it? Like, this could be an issue of staffing, that having an automated pilot might be, the debate about truckers, and having, if you take out a human being from the trucking situation, and so there again, this is a John Oliver one, if I remember right.
Yeah.
That you're not having a sleep issue, you're making the road safer. So there are some arguments there. On the flip side, the screening of prisoners, because you have the guy who's like Lobot but more, who can have a breach the cybersecurity system that they have and cause the ship to crash. I mean, that's a failure of planning. So, and would one guard have made a difference compared to the one droid that they had? And because he's still, again, it would have been a different failure point.
Right. I feel like having a Jedi on board kind of solves this issue.
I agree. I don't know if that makes it illegal, but it might make it negligent to a degree that could come to a basis of liability.
Yeah. Draft, did you have anything to add to that, or should I go to the next point? So the ship crashes. Osha gets creative, right? Straps herself in with Pip. She's unconscious. She has, whether it's a dream or a flashback, not a flashback, a dream, or is actually connecting with May. I don't think we're ever quite sure, but it's revealed that Osha, is a twin, and they have that connection with the fire and that poem that they recite to each other. Thoughts on the reveal, doing it that way?
So one of the legal geeks is a twin. She was greatly offended by the evil twin storyline. So, and another friend also didn't like it. It's like, we've dealt with twins before. So both of them were not okay with that element of the story. I wasn't overly accepting of it, but I was like, okay, that's what we got. And it just accepted and moved on. I probably would have been happier with something else, but as we got later into the series that they're the same person, that was enough of a differentiator for me not to get too hung up on it.
I'm just happy we didn't have to wait 5 episodes for the reveal when everybody knew what was going to happen. So at least it went fast. I was like, okay, out of the way. Now let's tell the story.
Yeah, very, very much the same. I listen. I feel like everybody knows how I feel about this series already, but I wasn't immediately sold on Ocean Man. Like, oh, twins. Where have we seen this before? Star Wars loves twins. But I obviously I ended up loving it. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. We'll wait and see. But twins have been done to death in Star Wars, so that was definitely my initial thought. So yeah.
Yeah, but we may have gotten a twin, but we got also a lot of new characters, and I think that was one of the very that's one of the things that really drove me to that series. Also, is getting to know new characters. So we're introduced to Saul, to Jackie, and to Venestra, who is I mean, when she was announced, a lot of talk happened on internet because she's one of the beloved characters from the High Republic books that I have not read yet. So what were your first impression when you met these characters in episode 1? I have to say I was just finally so happy to see a Jedi just constantly opening all the door with the Force. I was like, yes, queen. That's what I would do too.
I love Soul out of the gate. I like that actor a lot, and I liked him. I like Jackie. So again, I haven't read the High Republic comics or books because I look at that and go like, oh God, that's a lot to read, and I spend all day reading.
That's my problem too. They put so much out at the same time, and I'm like, it's just overload.
I've seen the panels at Comic-Con announcing like with the authors, and it's like they seem super cool, but like I have a bandwidth issue, and it's at the end of the day, I love coming home and like sitting on the couch and watching Star Wars on TV. And yeah, I do go to the comic book store and enjoy reading comics, but there are times when like that's a lot of homework. Like it's like that's a lot of work. And so that's my negative reaction to it. But I liked all the new characters. And again, grateful to have Star Wars.
Yeah, I feel Vanistra is definitely like when I went to Star Wars Night, and it was before the Acolyte, and I was dressed as a Mary Ellen in High Republic garb, and people were like Vanistra, and I was like, okay. So definitely, there's a lot of people who know and love this character. I think the character design, especially for Jackie, was super awesome. Like Star Wars never fails at creating these amazing makeups and aliens. I don't know if she's an alien that we knew before, but I thought that the makeup was gorgeous.
Yeah,
Character design, set design, all beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I immediately fell in love with Jackie because I love Daphne Keane because she played X-23 in Logan, and I just and now is it? Can we do Deadpool Wolverine spoilers? I feel like by me saying that I've said that already. If you haven't seen it, that's your fucking fault. Love you. She's in Deadpool Wolverine as well. And she's amazing, and I love her sarcasm because I love sarcasm and just love the character. And justice for Jackie is all I'll say. Justice for Jackie. Yeah. Speaking of Vanestra, right? She authorizes Soul's mission to retrieve Osha after the prison break. Soul brings Jackie, justice for Jackie, hashtag, as well as Yord, who, while looking for Osha, still plays it very like by the book, wants to do everything, has his lightsaber out, wants to handcuff her. Is this the right thing to do from a legal standpoint? Like Yord's whole attitude while going on this, I don't know if it's an arrest or a rescue op, and then just overall thoughts on bringing her back.
So I'm glad Soul was there. So I think Soul is the adult in the room, and because you want law enforcement to be proportional and seeking out the truth. Yord is very by the book, but he doesn't know Osha. Now, you can argue that Soul has a conflict of interest because of his past relationship with Osha as a teacher, so he might be more sympathetic. But I think that sympathy was needed to avoid Yord going turning this into recovering a body as opposed to recovering a prisoner.
Which is interesting though, because you said they don't have a relationship. Yord and Yord and Osha knew each other as Padawans. Yeah,
that's right. So yeah, both of them knew her, and so Yord is the example of not to send someone with prior knowledge, and Soul is the example to send someone with prior knowledge, because Soul's more interested in the truth and believing Osha, and making sure she actually has justice, opposed to Yord that sounds like it could be a police shooting waiting to happen. So I'm very much on, it was the right call to send Soul.
I agree. But on the other hand, also I feel everybody is like playing fast and loose with what they can do and how they can achieve things. When Yord is kind of the guy who is doing what he was told to do, which even if it's dumb in this situation, I feel like in the second episode when they're like stalking Crimea, I feel like Jackie is like has no problem doing way weird things, being like, go ahead, let's go lie, let's go, and I feel that Yord is kind of like a safe bet. You know what he's gonna do? Basically, he's not gonna try to stab you in the back, which maybe he would still be alive if he had done that. But
there might be less dead Jedi if Yord had just gone in, arrested her, and they took her home.
It's a great
Took her
point.
back to Coruscant.
Yeah.
So that might be the argument that Soul had undue influence because of his fondness for Osha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And I feel Soul like not playing by the book also is like what started the whole thing. So I think it's interesting that the guy playing by the book is also wrong. So I kind of like this gray situation where basically
Well,
it's,
yeah.
you know,
Right.
everybody's kind of right, but they don't do it at the right time or in the right way, or they don't judge the situation well. That's the main problem, I think.
Yeah. And it goes to what Josh was just saying, right? Like Yord is doing everything by the book, but that's also because of what, he's just following the Jedi code, right? This is not a time of war for the Jedi. They have not been taught to bend the rules against the Trade Federation and make decisions on the fly, it's just for him a very logical, cut and dry, emotionless situation. We have someone to pick up and we are going to arrest them, and for Soul it's deeply personal. Yeah. So not a lot to go on here at the very end, but the episode ends with obviously Osha in custody on board the Jedi ship, and then it ends with a shot of the Sith stranger, who obviously we know later is Chimere. Definitely get to know him very well and his lightsaber over these 8 episodes, telling May that to kill the next Jedi, you should not attack them with a weapon, because if you do, you'll die. And, we see him standing on a rock, igniting your lightsabers. What was your first impression of our mysterious Sith stranger?
What a fucking drama queen.
Yeah.
Like the whole setup by the sea on the rock with the lightsaber. Again, I saw this episode in a theater, so it really looked cool. Let's be honest, it was like a big reveal. I had no clue what was going to happen in that episode at all, so I was like, oh my god. I think that to not kill a Jedi with a weapon, for me, right away watching that first episode, I was like, oh, that's metaphorical, because of everything that happened in that episode. I was like, oh, it's bringing their downfall. It's like tarnishing their name. It's killing them in the mind of people. And then I was very interested in that and really hoping that it was not just gonna be no, murder them, like push them to suicide or something. But I'm glad that they kind of went this way, actually.
I didn't think about the court of public opinion. So that's actually very thoughtful, because that's ultimately what Palpatine does with saying a failed assassination attempt. If only those Jedi had followed a constitutional process for impeachment, things could have been different, but they don't. Okay, sure, he is a drama queen. Like, I am going to stand here on this rock by the beach to look dramatic, to make a point.
With the air, with the wind in my cape.
Yeah, it's like, I thought about this.
No
I waited for
capes.
the right time of day. But the killing a Jedi without a weapon goes back to the Darth Vader comic that I did read. And so when Vader, after Anakin falls, he doesn't have a lightsaber. So he's sent out by Palpatine to kill a Jedi, to take that Jedi's lightsaber and then corrupt the Kyber crystal. And so like that was established in a comic, with that's part of the Sith trials that happen. So my reaction to this scene was, okay, this is either the beginning of the Sith trials or something that has long been sustained, that you have to go kill a Jedi without a weapon. So I was familiar with the idea already, and also thought about how Vader did it in the comic. So I had a suspicion of how things were going to go.
I gotta say that watching it again after a few weeks of not watching these episodes, because I watched them a lot, it was cheesy. It was super cheese, like just complete cheese. But the Sith are nothing if not dramatic. So like, of course, right? I dug the shot though. I wish this is such a stupid nitpick thing to say, and I don't even know if I should say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I just wish the lightsaber at the end was a little bit more red, because it was a little orange, and I was just like, come on, color guy, make it a little bit more epic. Because I was like, oh, you have a lame red, but whatever. That's such a bad nitpick. But it was cheese, but it was good cheese. And then you get to the the classic ending credits scroll. So no, I liked it, even if it was cheese. Listen, this is just episode 1. This is Lost Found. We are going to continue this conversation next week. Josh is staying, and we're going to talk about maybe I don't know if he's just going to leave the Zoom after this one. Next week we're going to talk about revenge justice. But before we go for this one, Josh, please plug away. Tell us about Legal Geeks, what you have coming up.
So you can follow us at thelegalgeeks.com. Our social media is at The Legal Geeks. We are on Threads, appropriate for the Acolyte. We are on X. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok. And
highly recommend the
Tumblr.
TikTok.
Yeah, thank you. I've been experimenting with TikTok because that's a fun way to be able to watch something and then go, hey, let's talk for 5 minutes about something. And
I like
and then
your
it's
TikToks
done.
a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. That means a lot. I'm trying to get some of the other lawyers to do them as well. So that way it's not just me. Where can you see us next? San Diego Comic Fest. We will have 2 panels, times to be announced. One is on the 85th anniversary of Marvel Comics, which started as timely. So is the Submariner a natural born citizen? Does the android Human Torch have civil rights? All those fun things that come about from 85 years of Marvel's excellent storytelling. And totally fitting for hanging out with you guys, we'll talk about the 40th anniversary of The Search for Spock and the legal issues from stealing the Enterprise and the necessity defense, because there's a whole bunch of crimes in that. And it is
people.
it is one of my favorite Trek movies of all time.
I love Search for Spock.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. First one I saw in the theater, compared to drive-ins, and it's one of my favorite. So, at Comic-Con, we got to talk about Star Wars and Transformers, and at Comic Fest, we get to talk about Marvel Comics and Star Trek, things that I love, and I will officially be 50 by then. So again, it's going to highlight things from my childhood and adult life that I love.
Awesome. Well, I would say that it's been a pleasure seeing you, but we're actually just going to continue this conversation, but you'll have to wait for it next week. Stick around for that. In the meantime, as we're recording this, I am waiting very impatiently for my copy, and I'm sure Giraffe is getting it too. We haven't quite figured that out, of Star Wars Outlaws, dropping now. It's out for some people. Yeah, Giraffe's going to be playing it too. So as you wait for that episode, me and Giraffe are going to coordinate some streams of us playing Star Wars Outlaws. We will do an episode review of that soon as well. So yeah, you won't
me swear a lot at characters on my TV.
Yep, same. So stick around for some of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we will see you next week along with Josh for our review and his legal analysis of Revenge Justice, episode 2 of The Acolyte. So until then, remember, you too, like a loath wolf, can run free. Good night.